Well, I wish you the best with that. I hope I can contribute to some of that success. But I go into this week fully knowing that my strategy is pretty ballsy. I'm going for the contrarian plays, going for the big hit. I'm going to play some tourneys, and I think this week you can really predict where guys are going to go with ownership. So I think those are kind of the weeks where if you have some overlooked guys who you think are going to have just the same upside as some of these high owned guys, you got to jump on it. It's a week where it's not going to be heavily played. It's the week before the British. The European Tour events probably got bigger DraftKings contests this week than this does. So
yeah, probably.
Definitely got a better field. So yeah, I'm going to trade. I'm getting risky, and I'm okay with coming out with zeros if I have to. I mean, I'm fully prepared for that outcome.
All right, you probably I don't know. So the 8K range here, the guys for me that stand out the most, probably the guy I like the most in this range, Scott Brown. Am I crazy?
No, I like Brownie a lot this week. When he gets on certain courses, he can really score. He has played well here in the past. He's got 4 top 25s in his last 5 events here. And he played well last week. I mean, the ball striking numbers have been there. He puts it in play. He can stick his irons and wedges tight. I can't hate you for it, man. I think Scott Brown's a decent play this week, so no issue with that whatsoever.
And when I'm looking through my thing here, the guys that I wrote down were Brown, and I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, trying to do a draft and talk to you at the same time. I don't know. So Brown's kind of my guy in the 8K range. He's kind of where I start there. Got a little love for Bud Colley. I could make you an argument for Joel Damon, but Brown's kind of my go-to in this range. Who do you like here?
I actually like, as a very low-owned, potentially high finishing option, I think Kevin Tway is going to go a little bit overlooked this week. Didn't play great at the Rocket Mortgage a couple weeks ago. I think he missed the cut by 1. But I think he's got the potential to make a ton of birdies if his game's on, if he's making putts. The only concern is off the tee a little bit, but I think his approach game and his distance will make up for it. So I do like Tway as kind of a contrarian play there. I kind of want to like Kyle Stanley, but I typically like him more on courses where you don't have to shoot 20 under. I don't think he's going to make a ton of birdies, but I think he's a great bet to make the cut. I love my boy Bud. I got to get back in a little bit. His approach game has been pretty darn good.
You're a Bud man. I understand.
I am a Bud man. Usually more of a beer man, but I'm okay with some Bud too. I've heard a lot of love about Joel Dahman this week. I am actually not on board with that. He absolutely despises putting on bent grass greens statistically over the years, so do not like that whatsoever. I do, however, I do like a little bit of Party Marty.
Party Marty.
Party Marty's my kind of guy this week. Dude can make birdies when he's on. He's shown some good form kind of coming around last couple of weeks. So Party Marty's the last guy I like in that 8K range. Watney, I've heard some talk about, kind of lukewarm on him. Although some of these guys, you're like, God, I'm used to seeing him in the low 7Ks, maybe even in the 6,000s. But then you look at the field and you go, oh, okay, yeah, he's actually pretty good relative to other guys in his neighborhood here price-wise. I could be talked into him. I might end up playing a little bit of him, but those are kind of the guys I'm focused on in the 8K range. Brownie, Party Marty, and Kevin Tway.
Yeah, Tway was on my list. No asterisks, no extra notes, just kind of a passing guy. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I like it.
Did he do well in your system model thing?
Well, he's all right.
Just all right?
Yeah, he's a birdie maker. His DraftKings scoring is very good.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that stands out to me a little bit with him. You want guys that can make a ton of birds. He's 15th in the field in DraftKings scoring the last 24 rounds. So you got to like that. I mean, Ryan Palmer, he tempts me, but he's one of those guys, every time I get on him, he just absolutely burns me and shits the bed. So I can't do it. Can't do it.
You can't do it. All right, man. We've been on him week in, week out. Can we get more love for JT Poston this week? We just keep talking about him. I feel like he's due.
We have talked about the Postman quite a bit. I know he was mentioned before the Rocket Mortgage, I'm pretty sure I said I didn't love him, and he ended up in the final group that week.
Yes, he
didn't
did.
play good.
Fell apart on Sunday, but, hey.
Did. I heard he almost broke his wrist on hole number 2, hitting off a tree root or something. I didn't actually see that because I was on the course somewhere else. But yeah, I don't mind posting this week. I'm not overly excited to play him just because I'm not sure if there is a wrist injury. He's not. I don't know. I'm indifferent on posting. He's not one of the guys that I'm super excited to target here. But last time I said that, he went out and was in the final group on Sunday. So,
right.
Take that with a grain of salt.
I like him here. So the guys that I would like some further details on. Cameron Tringale.
Yes.
Denny McCarthy, yeah. Troy Merritt. These are my guys in the high 7K range.
Okay. Troy Merritt is in the high 7K, 7,500.
Yeah, 75. Whatever.
Yeah. I think Troy Merritt's going to be a little bit too high owned for my taste with my contrarian theme this week. I've heard a lot of talk about him. He had a great Sunday last week at the 3M. I just don't. I don't know. I don't see it. I think he's going to stall out. He does not have particularly good course history here. Let me look back at that. He is. Yeah, he's never finished. The last 4 years, he hasn't finished inside the top 40, 60th, 56th, 116. Other than that, had a top 20 back in 2014. There's just some other guys I like better in that price range. So. Denny McCarthy, the other guy you mentioned?
Let's see here. Yes, Denny McCarthy. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I hadn't really looked at Denny very closely. His strokes gained approach really looks awful. Looks like he's been relying a lot on his putting the last few weeks.
Number one strokes gain putting. That's why he popped up for me, my friend.
Unreal. I guess it's a week where you can ride a hot putter. It's not gonna be too demanding off the tee or into the greens, but I just don't think he hits it close enough for me to be excited about rostering him personally.
23rd in Minnesota, 21st in Detroit.
Yeah. I'm good.
All right, I'm putting a star on him. He's going in my lineup.
I will bank on the putting flipping on him and at least being mediocre. You can't putt lights out that many times in a row.
Nah, he's on fire. He's in my lineup. Done. I've locked him in. First guy locked in.
Do what you got to do. Hey, you know who I don't mind, though, is your boy Gooch.
Gooch.
I think Gooch might have a little something going on this week. He's been kind of knocking on the door.
He isn't in any of my notes anywhere.
Perfect. So that probably means he's going to do well.
Right? It's quite possible.
You've been riding him all year, so it only makes sense he's going to pop when you get off of him.
That's right. No, he's not even mentioned in any of my notes.
I do like, in the mid 7K range, I like Dylan Fratelli. Dylon has been playing pretty solid tee to green. 34th in strokes gained approach. 34th in DraftKings scoring as well over the last 24 rounds. Mm-hmm. He is well below that in pricing. Sam Ryder, my boy. I think I told you guys a couple weeks ago, that guy is an absolute degenerate. Loves to drink, loves to party. Mm-hmm. Super good dude. And he showed some really nice form last week. At the 3M, so he's a guy that I like.
Small note on Fratelli for me, but I do have an asterisk next to Mr. Ryder.
Yeah, Ryder's he finished second here last year, which was his best finish on tour. So I think that'll have a good taste in his mouth coming back to his best finish ever on tour. So I like him as kind of a pivot off of Merritt because I think Merritt's going to be really high owned. I think there's been some attention on Ryder, so I don't think he's going to be completely, low single digits as far as his ownership percentage, but I do think he is worth a look there at 7,500.
Mm-hmm. So how about a contrarian play, very low owned, a guy that popped up and nobody that I've heard is talking about him, but a guy that popped up when I was playing around with stat sorting, Mr. Taylor at 7,400.
Nick Taylor?
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing sub 2% ownership.
Yeah, it's another guy whose strokes gained approach has just been brutal the last few events here. He's 93rd in the field last 24 rounds. Strokes gained approach. Putting's been good, which has kind of been keeping him alive. But I mean, he popped a little bit last week for a couple rounds, but I don't think he'll be able to sustain it and stay in the shootout for 4 rounds. But you're right; he's going to have very low ownership, so that's always intriguing. You like Stewie? I think I saw Stewie on your very advanced model there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, my very chicken scratch. Yeah.
I think the way Stewart's been playing, for him to still be at 7,400 in this field, when guys are priced up in the 8K range, I mean, not to pick on him, but Jason Duffner's done dick the last couple months, and he's up at 8,100. I'll take Stewart over. If I was a prop bet, I would take Stewart over Duffner all day long right now. Lashley, I mean, he had one really good event. His strokes gained approach has been good, but he's at 8,500. Come on. There's some guys up there that just should not be priced above Stewart. So I like him a lot at 7,400. It's a course that sets up well for him. He hits it straight, hits his wedges very well, and the putter gets hot. Let's do it. Let's party. I was just out in his hometown on Sunday playing some golf in Jackson, Michigan.
Oh, I love it. I got to make a quick baseball pick here, so tell me who else you like.
All right, rounding out the mid to low 7K range, we got Brian Stewart. We said no to Denny McCarthy. At least I did. Troy Merritt's all right. Love Sam Ryder. Joey Garber, another Michigan boy at 7,300. The way he's been playing the last few weeks, very hard to get off of him. I think that's a great value. One of my favorites down here is Sepp Straka at 7,300. Top 10 in both strokes gained approach and strokes gained off the tee over the last 24 rounds. That is going to be hard to pass up at 7,300 in this field. Doc Redman played great 2 weeks ago at the Rocket Mortgage. He's one of these young up-and-coming stars who has probably been forgotten with how well the other 3 or 4 played last week. But he's at 7,200. The guy makes a ton of birdies when he's on. He just kind of blew up last week after clinching his trip to the British Open as PGA Tour card for the foreseeable future. So I like him to bounce back this week at 7,200. I think Doc's just too talented to pass up at that price. I think it's an overreaction on DraftKings' part to his poor finish last week. And then rounding it out, don't mind Roger Sloan and absolutely love Hank Lebioda at 71.
Lebioda, man, you read that off my list. You read it off my list.
I did not.
You didn't even know who Hank Lebioda was until you saw him on my list.
Dude, you kidding me? If anyone knows third or fourth tier PGA Tour players, it is this guy. I watched him play at the Rocket Mortgage for about 4 or 5 holes actually. The guy's really straight off the tee, hits his approach as well, and he's actually been playing solid for about the last month to 6 weeks. So at 7,100, if he keeps doing it, if he keeps giving it to me, I'm going to keep on him for another week here.
Yeah, I like him. He's on my list. He had a little asterisk too as I kept going after I sent you that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much every guy I have thoughts about in the 7K range. Anybody else you want to touch on before we get extreme value?
No, not in the 7K range. I mean, those are the guys. There's quite a few guys I like as underpriced good values there that are going to kind of round out some of my lineups that I start with, your Brian Harmon, Joaquin Neiman type builds that start off that way. You can really round them out nicely here in this mid to low 7K range. And honestly, I think a lot of these guys have pretty darn good upside. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Lebioda finishes top 20 this week, top 15. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent on Roger Sloan. How did he work out in your model system?
It didn't come up in anything that I made a note of. Yeah,
I was just curious because I've heard some chatter about him, and I didn't see anything with the numbers to indicate he'd be a good play. So I was curious.
Well, he's missed 50% of his cuts.
So. True. I mean, right now, when you look at this field relative to the strength of the fields these guys have been playing against, they're a lot more likely to make the cut here than they have been. So.
Oh, absolutely. So there isn't a ton of guys I really care to hit on in the 6,000 values. I'll just tell you all the guys that kind of popped up. Robert Streb, Kramer Hickok, as you know, because he's my boy.
I keep hearing that pronounced Hickok in other podcasts.
Yeah, no, they're wrong. They're just wrong. High cock. That's the way it is. My boy Steven Yeager didn't win, even though I promised to chug a bottle of Yeager if